Hello everyone, so I will be doing my November wrap-up. For the month of November, I read 5 books, so let's get started. The first book I read in the month of November was Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. So when Julia was in college, she disappeared and eventually cops think that she just ran away. So this tore her family apart. Her parents got divorced because of her father's obsession and couldn't let go of her disappearance. And eventually her 2 other sisters, Lydia and Claire, became estranged. So more than 20 years have passed since Claire and Lydia have last spoke until that all changes when Claire's husband is murdered. So this brings them together and they uncover things from their past, things like secrets that they never expect. So I gave this a 3.5 out of stars on Goodreads. I will say trigger warning for violence against women. It contains rape and torture, so if those trigger you, I would definitely not read this because it is throughout the entire book. It isn't in just one scene, so there is a lot of it. So I went through so many emotions reading this book. I really liked how the author showed the family grieving in different ways. Your heart breaks for certain characters, and then you feel these rage towards other characters. So I like when authors create such vivid characters or storylines, even if they cause negative emotions. So it was a little hard getting into, but once I did, I just needed to know more and find out what is going to happen. So if you like thriller, mystery novels and you aren't triggered by graphic descriptions of torture and rape, then I recommend this book. So the second book I read in the month of November was Nerds Do Well, A Small Boy's Journey to Becoming a Big Kid by Simon Pegg. So this is an autobiography of Simon Pegg. I am a huge fan of Simon Pegg, but I was a little disappointed in this book. There's so much in this book that I wanted to know more about. I wanted to know more about how he met and his relationship between Nick Frost. It had a lot about his life, but also very little. His stories were all over the place and it got a little confusing at times. Like he would be talking about like childhood stories and then it would lead him to a tangent about other things like Star Wars or how he got his idea for a certain scene in a movie and then he just like kind of rambled about it and then all of a sudden went back to his childhood story. So it kind of was a little confusing. I did like those little insights. I just wish there was like a better transition. He did talk a lot about Star Wars, so I did appreciate that since I love Star Wars and I liked his input on certain things about Star Wars. So those parts I really liked. Overall, it was good. I just wanted more. The third book I read was Misty by V.C. Andrews. This is the first book in the Wildflower series. So this follows Misty, whose parents are divorced and they always seem to put her in the middle or use her to get back at each other. And this has caused a lot of problems for her. And so she is in like a support group with other girls who are in similar situations. So each book in the series, we learn about the different girls and what brought them to this group. And so I will probably continue reading this because I'm interested in learning why they needed to be there. So the fourth book I read is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I just read the first one in the series. So this is about Arthur Dent, who is plucked from the earth minutes before it is destroyed by his friend Ford. For years, Arthur thought Ford was just an out-of-work actor, but really he is from another planet who is a researcher for the revised edition of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So they begin their journey through space, and they are picked up by Zaphod Beetlebrodt and his girlfriend Trillian, and Marvin, a depressed robot. So if you like witty sci-fi novels, then I highly recommend this book. I loved this book. The humor in it is not for everyone, so you might not like it if you don't like this kind of humor. I partially listened to the audiobook narrated by Stephen Fry, and I loved it. He really brings the story to life, so I'd probably be continuing listening to the rest of the series. The last book I read in the month of November was Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leah Bardugo. So the book starts off in the land of the Amazons and Diana saves Aaliyah, who is immortal, and she risks everything to save her. So it turns out that Aaliyah isn't just an ordinary girl, she is the bringer of destruction. People are after her because they want to kill her because she is going to bring a world war. So they want to stop it. So Diana leaves her land to help rescue Aaliyah from these people and try to find a way to prevent war. I gave this book a 4 to 5 stars on Goodreads. It was a great read. I loved how there were so many strong, brilliant female characters. Their friendship and bond was very beautiful. I did like that there were so many diverse characters. Aaliyah and her brother are African American. Her best friend Nim is Indian and she's a lesbian. It did take me a while to get into this book, but once I did, I couldn't put it down. I liked everything about it. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means, but it kept me entertained and I recommend reading this book. So those are all the books I read in the month of November. I'm hoping December I can read a lot more, go out with a bang for this year. So like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!